Western men are trying to run away from the world that they have created. I really want to talk about this crazy thing that's happening with the dating and social cultural thing shift, like a major shift between men and women, including feminism, including weird guys, and everything's just kind of going to chaos. So here's what's up. Let's kind of like start from the beginning. Or actually, really simple version is that Western world is very confusing and very difficult for a lot of guys, so they don't like that environment in terms of dating. They find those women difficult to date, difficult to be with, difficult to create a family with them, which is most likely, I don't know, but it's just a blind guess, it would be caused by feminism or movements like that. Basically, what I think, the feminism itself is a healthy thing, but when it gets to the point where you start competing men versus women, when like that kind of thing starts happening, then it doesn't seem healthy, because I think a lot of guys agree that being a man and competing against a woman, you cannot have like a healthy romantic kind of environment when you're just challenging and competing with each other all the time. For guys, that's like a friendship type of environment. Anyway, it doesn't matter, that's not the point, but that is the reality in a lot of Western countries, in like majority of them. And yes, men and women compete against each other. They would compete for the same thing, which then a lot of guys, as I said, they don't like that. And to find a girlfriend or wife, which is absolutely hilarious, but they leave the Western world and they go to the eastern parts of the world. So this would be Eastern Europe, eastern parts in Europe, things like that. And so they go there with a totally different mindset. Like basically some years ago, there would be information, well, it's easier to get girls there, it's easy to find a wife, and they're very different in terms of their mindset and how they view the world and all this kind of stuff. So, okay, this is good. Some guys go there, they actually find wives. A lot of them don't. They just kind of like they get laid, they're happy, they leave to go back home. They go back home and they would share the information. They'll tell their friends or their circle like how great it was, it's very fun, cool, blah, blah. This thing happened, or someone even came back home with a wife. So that information spreads. Now their friends are going to the same countries, repeating the process, leaving back, sharing the same information with their friends, and this kind of loop keeps happening. So this is fine, you can say, but here's the invisible kind of shift that is happening, because these you can say foreigners that are entering these countries, they are leaving an impact. At first, when they come in, they're very like friendly and cool, and like it's like, oh cool, you're like from some exotic country, you just came here, it's very, very nice. And over time, when the process repeats, and you can say girls get used, they feel like tricked, they feel lied to, slowly that environment changes. This warm, welcoming, friendly type of social vibe, it slowly fades away and it becomes a lot more restrictive. The walls go up, girls get protective, they know the stories, they know everyone who got hurt, who got like bullshitted, and like all this kind of stuff. So this traveling, this type of tourism really damages the, you can say, cultural or society level structure. And dating within that also changes, because these girls are now a lot colder, or they view world differently, they have a different perspective. And as everywhere, in every country, which is like very normal, there is feminism, there are all these like movements. And for girls that got hurt, that are mad at men, now they can hear this story with which they can relate, to which they can relate, and they can align themselves with that. So basically, over time, over like a period of years, probably like 10 years, things like that, the feminism slowly gets into these girls, and the same competition starts now happening in these like Eastern European countries, for example, which wasn't happening there in the first place, say 10 years back. Here's the hilarious part. The men that live in the Eastern European country that were like happy and fine with it, they almost fall into the same situation that the guys from the West would deal with. they see that it's a very different vibe, it's a very different culture. The things become very tricky with girls, and like everything is like a totally different vibe. And basically the main problem, you don't feel like you can have a stable, solid family with a girl like that. So then these guys from Eastern European countries, what do? They go even more to the east, like outside of Europe and further like that way, basically for the same purposes. And guess what happens there? The same story repeats itself, because there's a shift, they go there, they change like slowly the environment. All of the newcomers are gonna be like super welcome as usual. And then basically when they fuck up the place and kind of like ruin and destroy everything socially and like culturally, then it really becomes like a very, like, it's a ruined spot now, because yeah, it kind of like leaves a mark on it. So this is something that is really like very actively happening right now. And for example, I live in one of the Eastern European countries. I'm not sure if I want to say which one exactly, but basically the point is that 3, 4, 5 years ago, it was extremely rare when you could hear someone speaking English just outside in the streets, in a restaurant, in a mall, things like that. It would really be like extremely, extremely rare. And then it was really exotic, because like, wow, it's someone from like a cool country came to visit this place, and like that's really cool. Very like amazing experience to meet a like really stranger from far away. Now 4 or 5 years later, basically the place is flooded, or like half flooded, with English speaking people. There's like a ton of tourists from every country. And the funny thing is, yeah, that the dating dynamics have also shifted very much, or like very fast, because now there's this like groups of foreigners that like whose intentions are not very clear, and you don't really know what to expect from them. A lot of people have been hurt by them, and then like this is like this kind of like gray area where you're not very clear with what's going on. And within the ecosystem of this country, basically for the natives or for the locals, things slowly shift for them as well. At least for the ones that are maybe a bit outgoing, or like they know a bit more people, it's very clear how people become a bit more aware. And there's slowly that aggression from the like women's side is slowly starts to build up. You can feel it in basically everything, because girls want to be defended, or they want to be like more defensive against any kind of bullshit, because they're sick of that. And that reflects basically onto everyone. And this is the kind of, it's just a thing that is happening, and I believe it is happening all over the place right now. For example, I can say yesterday I met with a friend from Germany, and he explains how this dating thing works there. And it is basically this like Western type of situation, Western type of dating world, but to the extreme levels, where people kind of date, but they don't. There is kind of this, people like hook up with each other. There's all of that happening, but there is no real relationship. There's no real trust. There is no real like, no real talk about actually making like a healthy family. That kind of doesn't exist. You can be only selfish and egoistic and just take everything for yourself and then be defensive, which is absolutely crazy, because if this is where entire world is going to end up, then there is going to be no chance to have a healthy family, because everyone's egoistic, everyone's selfish, everyone's just taking for what they want, or like being extremely protective. And you add up things like the way dating works right now with all these like apps like Tinder and things like that, which I think is a complete disaster in itself. Like, what a way to boost your ego if you just swipe left, right, and you're like, yeah, like, fuck you I like, fuck you, this is okay. Like, the level of ego it gets into you, and people like kind of take it for granted, not even understanding. Like, in real life, if you meet a person, like person in person, you can look in their eyes and actually see their energy, and you wouldn't be like, yeah, fuck you, yeah, I kind of don't care. You would have at least some kind of human connection with them. Like, you know, you maybe feel bad about telling no to them, or you would feel at least some sort of human connection. That's the point. So you wouldn't treat them like shit because it's a real person in front of you. But when it's on the screen, then it doesn't matter. Plus, on top of that, half of these like profiles on these apps are actually bots. So you don't even know like if it's a real person or not. So there's extra incentive to not treat people properly or like with respect on these apps. So now let's talk about the fact that all of these like newest generations that are like about like 16, 17, 18, 19, they have literally basically grew up with the technology, and these kinds of apps is the default, the way you do dating, the way you meet people. Pretty much like that's the mainstream kind of way, like everyone does that, it's all over the place. Plus with the corona, well, if you're single, what are your chances if you have to sit at home for like what, half a year, entire year? You know, you don't want to be single, so what's your option? Just go on this like Tinder apps and, you know, try to meet someone there. So you go there, and then everyone, like, there's this like madness, chaos, basically just a like a volcano of like emotionally like hurt people and toxicity and just negativity and hate and people playing each other and abusing each other. And there's no way that from that environment there's gonna be couples walking out very happy and friendly and healthy, and they're like, hey, we're gonna have a great family, healthy kids, emotionally stable kids. Like, that's not gonna happen because people are hurt, they want to hurt more, they are super defensive, super egoistic, and then on top of all of that, you know, like people cannot survive in their own country. That's how crazy it gets. People cannot like take it anymore, like all of this bullshit in their own country, in their own culture, in their own like place where they speak the same language, they share the same values. They leave that, go to an entirely different culture, hoping to find a partner or a wife, or even, well, a husband, definitely not, but like that thing keeps happening, and it's insane. It's just the waves of everything shifting and like going crazy. And I'm saying this because, well, if you, before Corona, you could travel like here and there, and it's insanity. In some places it's insanity. For example, in Ukraine, in one of the bars where like kind of like a cool place where you can hang out, every single guy you meet there, they are from UK, US, or Canada. There's no local guys there. They don't go there. And there are like some girls hanging out there. And you talk with these guys like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? Like, why are you here? What are you doing? Like, yeah, I'm just kind of chilling. Someone just straight up, they're saying like, I'm just like looking for girls. And someone says, I'm looking for a wife. And for me, I cannot be fine with it, or I cannot like accept it. It has to mean that there is a problem. If men leave their own country because they don't like their own girls, so they go somewhere else. And yeah, it's really interesting where this whole thing is gonna end up, because, as I said, if you say, let's say as an example, just theoretically, you take like a small city somewhere in Ukraine, a rich guy, or like a, probably not even a rich guy, just like a very average kind of guy from a Western world comes in, and he shows his money, kind of like shows who he is. The girls there, they get attracted or they pay attention because that's a very new type of thing, which then raises their standards to the levels of like what guy should provide, what he can do, what he should do. Because this Western guy is like throwing, you know, like food at them, drinks at them, like, let's go here, here's like, you can smoke this, that, like, it's very like generous kind of thing. So when this guy leaves, let's say he marries someone, best scenario, he marries someone and they leave. These girls that knew this guy, now this is their standard for what a husband should look like. But now they're left with local guys that cannot provide that. Like, that are like way below financially. Like, they're really struggling. They're nowhere near to be able to provide the same experience for them. So now the local girls are not interested in these local guys. So they will try to like go somewhere else. And this impacts really, I feel like, how people value each other. I really think this is this has a very huge impact on people traveling, on people choosing their like dating relationship partners, both girls and guys. Yeah, that's, I feel like it's kind of like an invisible thing because it just happens between us normal people. There is no show about it. There is no celebrity that's gonna talk about it, or I don't know, like a singer or something like that. But it really actually keeps happening, and yeah, you could see it in, for example, in northern European countries where there's a lot of blonde girls. You can meet a lot of guys from southern countries that don't look like blonde type of like genetically, and they're exactly after like finding someone like exclusive, like someone like different, and then if you talk to them, they're like, yeah, I'm just looking for a wife, a girlfriend, things like that. And then you're like, but like you don't like what you have like in your country, and they're like, oh yeah, well, it's kind of like, it's difficult, they're annoying, they're very like egoistic, they expect so much from you, there's it's like the money thing, and they want you to do this, and basically then they ruin you and destroy you and blah blah. And this is a crisis. Like, if, like, how long can this keep going? Like, how long can this go, and where it's gonna end up? Because I feel like this is like, overall, as I said, our dating world, the way it is right now, it is the worst place, is the worst environment out of all kind of like environments, like business environment, like university studies environment kind of thing. uh, the dating one is the worst because there are inflated egos, there's so much trauma and hurtness and aggression and trying to revenge and trying to like use people and trick people, and all of that comes in to one spot, and basically people just ruin each other. There is no conversation to be aware of it, to like how to deal with it, how to be healthy, how to like recover from that. There is only like get hurt more others get hurt, they get defensive, they keep hurting others, and the wave keeps going and going and going. And in the end, all of these just leads to division, because the men versus women literally means that you're now on different sides. Like, it's you versus them, it's not us. Like, and I think this is the absolute worst scenario, because, and this is getting political, but whatever. Uh, Everything is being divided. Like, people are being divided if they're politically left or right, if your skin is like, your skin color is like this or this, you're rich or poor, you are like a man or woman, and that is not good. And this division is super strong in every single field. Like, it is really like that. And again, I think the core, obviously the core of our society, if the families can keep existing and the new generations can be born and this can keep going, but this is not gonna be happening so easily anymore. It probably will keep happening, but it's not gonna be as easy because of all of these external and internal problems that are being added up. Also, all of the pressure, like financially, with the COVID, with all the regulations, there's like vaccine people versus anti-vaccine people. So yeah, this is turning into something scary or unpredictable, or I don't even know what was the right word to put here, but I feel like this can end up in something really like confusing type of world, where basically there's going to be only small local communities, and like you just either hate foreigners, which will lead to extreme racism then. Basically, if you live in a country, let's say as an example, where everyone's white, and then you see some people that are not exactly white but some different color, maybe like super black, maybe a little bit black, maybe just like slightly tan, maybe, I don't know, countries like around Egypt or something. I'm super bad with geography, it doesn't matter. But other people that look different, that look like foreigners, if these trends keep happening and people start understanding that this hurts the local community, it hurts the local kind of culture and dynamics and things like that, then people will be more and more kind of closed from tourists. They will be a lot more protective, and circles will become a lot smaller. So basically, this kind of tourism will end or die very fast. or not die, but it will be like a real issue, because of people will be very like hateful and aggressive towards someone of like different color, different, like they'll just look different. That means they have bad intentions. So instantly no, instantly go away, instantly we don't like you. And it's a horrible situation, because if someone genuinely just wants to travel and maybe they want to invest in the country or do something like that, they will probably feel the offensive kind of vibe, the aggression, the kind of small discrimination, because the intentions kind of don't match. People think he's here to fuck up the whole environment, basically the whole dating scene. So we can't make it good for him, because he's gonna tell his friends, and then his friends are gonna come, and their friends are gonna come, and this is gonna turn into a shit show. So that can't be happening. So then you have to be like extra defensive, and then the guy can be just hurt. And for example, he's not gonna invest, he's not gonna build his business here, he's not gonna maybe do something amazing for this country, and that hurts then probably tourism, economy, and things like that. And this is like, again, all of this is possible, and I'm afraid like this is where things are slowly kind of going and shifting over time, because really honestly, some of these Eastern European countries, Eastern countries, but not European, okay? That's kind of how it feels like once the tourists come in, and well, in most of the cases, they're not very respectful, they're like very shitty, just abusing everything, taking whatever they can, and that really hurts the environment. And then it's also easy to invest. Like if you go to any, like again, a country like Ukraine, it's a paradise, because you like there's no bills that exist there. Everything's free pretty much, because the food in restaurants is free, taxi is free. It's like it costs like funny money to drive anywhere. You want to get some like luxurious experience with like some like attractions, or like a rent a yacht or something like that, that's literally like hilarious money. You would buy like a average meal in a Western world in a country like that. So when you go there, even if you're like half broke in the Western world, you go to like a poorer countries, you feel like a king, because you can buy anything, you can own anything, you can rent the best apartment right in the city center, you can eat in a restaurant 5 times a day, you're gonna be fine. And then imagine again the picture that these girls have. They're like, holy shit, like, they're taking a bus every single day, and you're taking taxis like left and right, doesn't matter, because you're like, yeah, it costs like 30 cents. So yeah, there's like economical changes, economical differences, it all adds up to that. So kind of repeating myself at this point, but this is really a thing that I see happening. And yeah, again, it's just very curious to see where this is gonna go eventually and how it's gonna end up. And again, as I said, I feel like unfortunately this can lead to just negative vibes, like negative aftertaste, because you would kind of feel defensive, hateful, aggressive right away. And yeah, then that creates more of these like shifts, because people are gonna be mad, pissed at you. They're gonna call your country or some other country that you're racist or something like that. And then where is that gonna go? Where is it gonna lead? Yeah, so that's a real chaotic disaster. And probably also one more thing I want to add overall towards this like dating thing is that it's kind of weird how, not weird, but it's kind of like a very tricky thing how, well, yeah, basically these apps got introduced, like Tinder and all this kind of stuff. And then COVID came, and it's like a perfect match to just kind of get into these apps and invest more and more. Because I really can remember maybe like 4 years ago, Tinder wasn't like this kind of mainstream thing. Like some people used it, and it was kind of like a thing, but it wasn't so big. It wasn't like every single person is on it, and it's like actually people are swiping, they're seeing their cousins and managers from their work, and like this is just happening. You kind of keep seeing everyone. They're like your teacher from school or something like that. And that's the environment that is happening right now. So this place like a Tinder in itself breeds a lot of negative things, negative loops, negative emotions, bad experiences for people. But this is the main way how people meet each other. So majority, unfortunately, the way we are right now, unfortunately, majority of people, they're stuck in this kind of bad negative world that is affecting them really negatively. So then, yeah, I don't know, there is I don't think anything good can come out of it. And I believe, let's say, maybe 3-4 years from now, maybe more, maybe less approximately, but I believe once people kind of get through this phase, like majorities go through the toxic apps of dating, they kind of learn, they understand, they see like it basically doesn't work, or it's very difficult, or like there's so many of these problems. After like something like that happens, some kind of like awareness becomes mainstream. Then meeting people organically or not organically, but in person, it will be like very trendy kind of thing. It will be a new thing, like a cool thing, because the cool way to meet someone right now is probably through the dating app. And like when you like for now at this point, when there's like kind of COVID, kind of not, some people are in lockdown, some people are not, you don't really go meeting someone on the street or in a bar or something like that. Just like this kind of doesn't exist, and basically it looks like it just never existed. And I believe, again, in the future it can become a very normal thing or not, because if by then we have the VR and the new world with the metaverse and all of that, then things can shift even further into the unhealthy type of environment and type of world. And then where that is going to lead, no idea, but I hope we're not going to get there. But by all of the things that we can see, we're probably going to get there actually. Again, but that's a whole other topic. I actually want to do a totally different video on that. So yeah, let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say. Probably that's going to be it. I also want to say that this is just kind of for me, but for this like channel and really what I'm doing, I understood the way YouTube kind of works, and it kind of doesn't make sense to keep doing these like poor quality videos because it hurts my channel in the end. But I feel like I'm still gonna do it no matter what, because yeah, again, as I said, this is just kind of for me, just to like practice and practice and practice to see where I can take it eventually. In the end, I can either recover the channel or not recover. I can just delete all the videos or just kind of archive everything. But yeah, doesn't matter. So probably that's it for now, and let's see what's up in the future. What the fuck? Yeah, until the next video. And I actually wanted to add a couple more things. So for example, with the dating apps, if you understand, as I explained, basically when the local community gets hurt by this kind of movements, how would they meet each other? In that sense, actually dating apps become the only option, because then you can really deal with the person without dealing with them, because they, like, you don't need to meet them, you can just kind of see what's up and deal with them that way. But again, the point itself of these apps is that then it raises your ego and disconnects you from the human part, because you don't feel any responsibility or some kind of, again, levels of something serious when you're just telling no, because you're like, oh yeah, doesn't matter, like yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That, I feel like that's a kind of huge part of a problem in itself. But these apps then become a solution. So the solution in itself, yes, it kind of works because you don't need to meet the strangers, you don't need to risk something. Everything is laid out in front of you on the screen. But doing the things this way also breeds new problems. So that's just one of the things I wanted to add. And then the other thing, basically the whole point of it was that Western men are trying to run away from the world that they have created. Maybe not they have created, but this is the world like that where they are. And if you think about it, not on like a human level's perspective, but something like genetical or maybe like humanity overall, it's kind of crazy because let's say a man that lives in the Western world, he doesn't like any of the options that he has there. Because I really have heard a lot of these sentences, pretty much literally, when guys say, I wouldn't marry here, like anyone here. I would marry only like a girl from like that other country that I went to, or like something like that. But these ones that are all around me, no, that's definitely no. So I'm not gonna have a family with them. I like, for me, it's just, again, it's just so shocking to hear that. And then so they are in that reality. They go to another country, let's say they get a wife, they come back, but they keep, like they'll have kids, which will then add to this world. They will grow up in that world and become a part of that. They'll become a part of what these men don't like already. That's kind of the point. It's like they're kind of investing their life, or the future of their kids, into this reality that they are not happy with. And the part of that is, and I think it's very clear, because in any Western country, financially, it's like pure equality. You can do whatever you want. Any opportunities, they are literally, well, very close to, like, there's like actual equality, you can say, because you can do anything. You can go wherever you want. You can work with any kind of person. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. You can be a leader, a CEO. You can deal with like any kind of partnerships. Like, all of that is clean and pure, and that's amazing. Unfortunately, in, let's say, Eastern countries, that is not the case. There is problems, difficulties, discrimination against women. There is inequality. There is like all of that. There's a lot of problems like that. But it's crazy how the dating part or the relationship part then goes in reverse, because in an environment where financially there is, like, let's say, equality and there's a ton of opportunities, there is no relationship anymore, because everyone starts chasing the money. Everyone goes into me mode. Me, get more things for me, become famous, become popular, become rich, do cool stuff, go like do crazy things, get friends that are celebrities, go into like politics. And everyone chases that same story, that like basically everyone has the same goals. So everyone's competing with each other. That's why everyone is kind of disconnected from everyone else. It's just like, it's like, what's the word? Basically, it's just you for yourself, and like there's no other allies, pretty much. In the Eastern world, financially you're fucked pretty much, unless you're like lucky, or like you're like really smart, you can figure something out. Most likely connected to the Western world. But with the relationship part, you have a lot more kind of peace and calmness, and family comes first in that kind of environment. So then it becomes so much easier and so much kind of like, I guess, it's healthier and balanced. It is more balanced. It is more pure and things like that. And yeah, it's, for me, again, it's just really, really crazy and interesting to see these things. And especially it's very interesting where all of this is gonna go, like where we're gonna end up with this whole thing.